Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And before we start anything, you guys, da 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 da. I got the new Pixel 8. I am so excited at the same time, a little bit nervous about that new bill that's going to come every month. My plan had it expired. My phone was paid for, but it worked perfectly fine, right? But I was looking forward to isn't that a nice color? Isn't that a nice color? It's like a sky baby blue. It's a very pretty one. You're not going to see it because I'm going to have it all compartmentized, right? It's going to be all heavy duty. I'll be able to drop it off on top of a building and it can hit the ground, concrete ground, and it's still going to stay in one place. But, right, a lesson for me. Pay attention. I'm pretty good. I had that phone for 3 years and it served me well, and I never did lose it, though lots of times I thought I did. This one, I'm going to pay a lot of attention to it because I can't afford another one. So it is what it is. And if I don't want to use my old Pixel 2, we're going to watch this phone. We're going to take care of this phone. Okay, you guys. So another thing, if you guys have been hanging out with me this week, we got this word again, acceptance. Hello, Andrew. Andrew, I got your letter and I got your card. Thank you so much. That was so sweet of you to think of me like that, and to be able to stay up to date with what's going on in your life. I really have a vision of what this university looks like that you work in, the way you describe the halls and the buildings themselves, right? It gives me an idea of the experience that I would have if you were to take me on a tour of it. Okay, let's bring it right back. Let's try and stay on this topic of acceptance that has driven me a little bonkos since I got it, since I realized that this is the second time that we've gotten this word. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Kathy, dear. Right? Uh, and it's funny because last year my mail took a long time. Andrew was just saying he was going to send his Christmas cards out a little bit earlier next year. But last year I sent my cards out early, and everybody, well, as early as I thought, like right at the beginning of the month, and still everybody got their cards after Christmas. This year I didn't do it any earlier than what I had, and yet everybody got their Christmas pretty fast. I was pretty impressed with the Canadian post office anyway. But yeah, right. I'm grateful for that card. It means more when it comes by itself, when it's unexpected and it's not coming in with another fold of Christmas cards. It made it special. Any card you send me would be special anyway. Okay, so let's get back to this word, you guys. That this word acceptance. I'm kind of making myself a little bit mixed up, because I have been going into the topic periodically in the past day or so, looking um looking at this word acceptance and its meanings, and depending on how you look at it. And I thought, well, maybe I would tie it into those beliefs, right? We kind of touched on beliefs, I think, last time we had this word acceptance, but maybe I didn't. I didn't go back. I should have gone back into, week number 15 and taken a look at some of those live shows that I had. But we got this word acceptance. And what I thought would be really good, because when I was looking up terminologies and I was going through, when you Google Google it. It gives you a few extra questions that you can look at. Some of them being, what does it mean to find acceptance? Why do people need to feel accepted? Why is acceptance so important? What is the deep meaning of acceptance? Um, and so forth. And like I said, I was getting a little bit confused because then I came down here and it was a really good definition for me because I knew how to work with this today in my life. And why is acceptance so difficult? Sometimes our own expectations, desires, or past experiences can create resistance to accepting things as they are. I'm a realist, I'm moving in very unique topics, but at heart, I am a true realist. And I feel this experience as a human being, and I thought, because of my mission, one of my mission statements, right? It takes all kinds to make the world. That this question, right? Why is acceptance so difficult? Well, it was because I choked on acceptance. I had no choice but to accept. I didn't know that there was an option B. An option B was never shown to me. And in my limiting beliefs, nothing came to me of that, right? When it came to my situation, I always just took it as fact. It got so close to fact that it was belief, right? It was faith. And so, you know, some of these questions that I'm asking now, I would have never have thought to ask them any earlier than now because I accepted the answers that I had gotten when I was a child or whenever I was in that experience or having that conversation, right? I accepted my place. I accepted what I was told. I accepted who was boss. I accepted my place and I accepted my unworthiness. I accepted that all. When they say that we are to fault, right? We are truly to fault because I have always been under the understanding that I had choices. But if I don't have the right information, if I don't have an opportunity, let's finish this paragraph. Sometimes our own expectations, desires, or past experiences can create resistance, right? So this is what I feel that I'm in right now. This is why this word has come back to me a second time because I am resisting, right? I am being stubborn. I'm being set in my ways. I'm not giving. I'm not being open to other possibilities. And I have always been a very open person, right? But when we get to the nitty gritty, when we get to that close, and here it is, okay, and this is right notes. And I make these little lessons for myself. I didn't get them anywheres online, but these work for me, right? It's not to say they would work for anybody else. So when I was working with this word acceptance today, you know, I tend to fall into these ideas because something is too close or something is too far away, right? When something is too close to me, right, I become a little bit hypervigilant in my surroundings, right? I accept that these are the things that I do. So I'm trying to do a little bit of work to find out why I'm stumbling over this word acceptance. But so I was looking at it in different perspective, right? That my problems and my triggers lay when something is too close or something is too far away, right? And I split it up so I could recognize when something was too close, right? Because we do things in baby steps. If something's too close, right, we need to move it a little bit away so that we can calm the system down. We're not here to traumatize ourselves. We're here to make some movement with the least amount of pain as we possibly can. To smile through it, even if we can, not if we have to, right? We don't fake it. Okay. When something is too close, I become very hyper vigilant in my surroundings. I'm definitely uh, paying attention, right? Sometimes when something is too close, right? If I don't know it, and if I don't know whether it's good or bad, to me it's just something that's just too close. It's something unfamiliar that's just too close. Even if it's something good, something to my own benefit, I may go right into self-sabotaging, right? In that, let's just get it right off. Let's just get it right off the plate. Let's just make it not even a concern. I'm just too busy for this in my life right now, right? And so we'll self-sabotage, like breaking a diet or, right? I see I'm getting to my goal weight. I see the weight's coming off. I see I'm looking good in some clothes. Oh my goodness, that guy looked at me, right? And then I'm triggered, right? I'm triggered. I'm going, oh my goodness, okay, where's my sweatshirt and my sweatpants, right? We're not going to do our hair today. And we do that self sabotage. And that self sabotage could have been my husband number two, right? But I do that when things get too close, right? That's that little bit of introvert in me, right? It's not widespread, but it's very targeted in where it is in my life, right? When something is too close, we become very anxious, right? We can, because we don't know sometimes that something's too close, but we feel that anxiousness right away. So that should be something that should be like the alarm for us, like, oh, right? Something's too close. Something's coming into the playing field. We're going to have to deal with something. It's here. Work with it, right? And then, of course, the stress. And I left stress and anxiousness off to the side because lots of people thrive in their stress, right? They work their very best when it's high stress, when you put on a time limit, when you've got to say, we got to get this all done. I'm that person, right? So I can sometimes work very well in stress. So I didn't want to attach it to the anxiousness, because the anxiousness sometimes is that hairy, scary, that stuff that will get us so frazzled that we'll forget even what we're doing, right? Um, Guilt and shame. When something is too close, we will guilt and shame right away. Will bring these horrible feelings, especially if you're highly sensitive or empathic. Guilt and shame is a tool that we use on ourselves, right? We don't use it just on others. We don't use it to point out the faults in others. We use it on ourselves. So again, just like that word anxiety, and stress, when you feel these things, right? It's because something's too close, right? Too close. Now we can guilt and shame, accidental. Oh, and I wrote accidental here before I trail off. Accidental. For me, I stumble over myself. That kind of is attached to the anxiety, because when you get all stressed like that, again, you lose your faculties and you do stumble over yourself right away, right? I make a mistake when I'm doing cash. The whole cash will be terrible, and a 15-minute job will take me an hour, right? And a simple mistake, because I've overthought it, right? Because I've overstressed and I've pulled in the anxiety into all of that, right? I make something small into something big or even something unsolvable. When something is too far away, for me, you guys, I feel tired, right? It pulls on my energy, it drags me out. It makes me slow, it makes me bored, it makes me whimsy, right? It makes me daydream, it makes me space out, and it makes me sad, right? And I know for a fact through the conversations, it makes people lonely, right? It makes me lonely. When my husband would go on his tours and he would go overseas and he'd be gone for 6 months, right? It's very lonely without him, right? Right? When something is too far away, we can open up the door to other feelings besides the tired, sad, and lonely. And that's because we've allowed the tired, sad, and lonely go on for too long, that we open up that door. And in order to forget about, it's not gone away, tired, sad, and lonely, still there. But to concentrate on something even bigger than that, we open up the door to despair, right? The right place, right? Something's too close, something's too far. When you're in the right place, right? You feel safe. You feel creative, right? You feel creative. You feel comfortable and calm, right? But where people get this mixed up a little bit, because sometimes we get all of these feelings, right? And when I talk about untangling the wires, it's because we've mixed it up with all those other parts of us, and we kind of forget, what's human and what those other parts of us are, and what belongs to what part. And then that's when the really, really, really scary stuff happens, right? So this is where I think, right, I need to be doing my work, where I need to feel, right, all parts of us coming together, right? And usually with me, I become the spectator, right? When it all comes together like that, oh my goodness, when the humans on the go, the souls on the go. I feel this sometimes, when I go to workshops, staff meetings, interviews, group settings, right? It can become a mishmash. Again, that anxiety, because I call it anxiety only because it's just so many, what's the word? Feelings all at the same time. Because when everything comes together, there's anxiousness, but that anxiousness feels a little bit different, right? It's that ready to go. It's that feeling like you're coming out of the gate, right? Because usually when you're all together, right? When all parts of you are all together. And I had to stop there because I was thinking, Cindy, what has this got to do with acceptance, right? But maybe I just need to work this out right here. When all parts of us come together, that anxiousness is there, right? That human part is saying, oh God, this is going to be scary, right? And that other part is us is saying, come on, let's do this. This is going to be fun, right? But at the same time, like I said, that human part of us is scared because in our programming as highly sensitives and as empaths, right? We have always waited for the shoe to drop, right? In that hypervigilance, right? We're always expecting expecting something to come around the corner, something to come across our paths, something for us to stumble on, right? Or something that we just can't figure out, right? And if we fail in that, right? And that those scary feelings are there, but that anxiousness is so overpowering, right? Makes it so you don't have a choice. And then if you could just make it past that point, these feelings, and I wrote here in exclamation marks, capitals, alive, you can feel so alive, right? And awed, right? Totally odd. And that's the confusion part of it because you get to experience and you get to see and you get to feel things that maybe you never experienced before, right? That you never might not have ever experienced. I become the spectator, right? And when I'm all coming together, I have no choice. I just kind of back off from I back off from it all and I just let it, right? But if I tie my ideas of acceptance and look at it with beliefs, it ties in with my beliefs, right? And I'm just because I'm such a realist, right? That because some of these things are so beyond my understanding even, but because I see the evidence, because I feel the evidence, because I know the evidence, that I don't have a choice but to accept it. So, in some of these things, I'm not being asked to bring to the table, but at the same time, I have to be prepared, right? Because at any moment, and I accept this because I experienced this, things can change, right? And because we're dealing with so many different people, there's a reason that we've all come together. Each one of us is a unique. Each one of us is different, right? And that's something I've always accepted in being a spectator for the most part of my life and being excluded in a lot of what I wanted to be a part of, right? Because I accepted my place. So I was making all kinds of notes today, like all kinds, just trying to figure this all out, right? In tying this acceptance, right? Knowing that we judge each other. I judge myself. I accept that. I see it. I recognize it when I do it, right? I recognize when I do it. So I'm going to delve a little bit deeper than what I've done because I've got so many wires crisscrossed here. But I know I'm getting something wrong, right? And whether it's in that judgment of myself, right? Remember what it was saying here? Our own expectations, desires, or past experiences can create resistance to accepting the things that are, right? And I think that just might be the case for me. Additionally, fear of the unknown or fear of change can make it challenging to embrace people and circumstances that are different from what we're accustomed to. And I think to the core, right? If you're really, and if I'm really being genuine about that, it is that fear of change, right? I don't like change. I've had a lot of change in my life. I'd be perfectly happy on the couch with the remote control. But at the same time, I have seen the evidence of my goal setting. I have seen the evidence of what I can create if I can go after what I create, if I can make that movement. And I believe in that. I accept that to be true, right? That I can create, that even though I'm afraid, I can still make change in my life because I'm a realist. I see it as it is, right? I accepted the place that I was. I accepted what people said to me, right? That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen now. If somebody were to try that on me now, right? Turn the other cheek. But there might be a lesson. Yeah, I was thinking of a lesson today when I went to get my new Pixel. I'm so excited. I got my new Pixel. um the lady who was helping me out there, when we were talking about my needs, what I want for the phone and everything. I knew I was getting the Pixel 8, but she was trying to get me into something old or something that she had lots of. And I said, no, I want the Pixel 8. So what's the best deal and what's the best package you can give me for the Pixel 8? And, I told her what I needed it for. And she seemed very interested. And she thought she might want to open up or start her own YouTube channel. So for like half an hour, we talked about social media, working online, starting a YouTube channel, right? Gave her my email, told her if she decides she wants to give it a shot, I'll help her out if she wants. Just email me. I'd be happy to help her out. And that conversation there was in the lessons, right? The lessons that come across our paths. I did confuse myself on this topic today because it looks at so many different definitions, right? In this word. And I looked at them all and it just totally, right? Some of these questions, let me look at these, right? Does acceptance mean giving up? Is acceptance good or bad? Is acceptance an emotion? I'm interested in that one. Let's take a look at that one. Is acceptance an emotion? 8 primary emotions: joy, enjoyment, happiness, relief, bliss, delight, pride, thrill, ecstasy. I didn't see acceptance. Oh, so here they are: interest, acceptance, friendliness, trust, kindness, affection, love, and devotion. I would take that word devotion out. I might stick loyalty in there only because devotion is too much like worship, number one. Number two, I am not uh, a religious person in any way, but I am a loyal person, right? I am an honorable person, in my opinion, right? In my interactions with me, you get to be the judge on your part. But I think so, right? Okay, well, I've got 2 mouses here, so I'm confusing myself with that too. Is acceptance a good trait? There's a good one. Acceptance allows us to assert our own needs while accepting that someone else may feel differently from us. Oh my goodness. For instance, and while understanding why they might feel that way. Right? I get that. I like that actually. right? Because in what I accept, I have needs. I have boundaries set up. I have routines set up. I have my beliefs, right? And I have my movement. But I also have to understand, right? Especially right now, like when I'm hanging out with you guys, that you guys have your own needs. You have your own beliefs. You've accepted things of yourself, right, that are different from me, right? But it's all based on our own realities. Okay. Uh Andrew says, I think a couple of huge fears people have are the fear of failure and the fear of being embarrassed. I was embarrassed yesterday. I was truly embarrassed. I had construction, or not construction, I have work people in my apartment yesterday. I cleaned. I cleaned so much. And I left the apartment and they did their job, and then when I came upstairs and I had to tear everything down and clean everything and put it all back together. And I pulled my stove out from underneath the wall. I pulled my stove from the wall, and I could not believe all the stuff that was underneath my stove. And I knew they had to have pulled my stove out. And I was truly embarrassed. They weren't even around. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, next time I see them in the building, I'm going to have to apologize. Next time they come into my apartment, I am going to be so on top of it. Like right off the hop, I'm beating myself up and looking for solutions. And right, they're probably not even going to be in my apartment again for another year. But all day yesterday, right, I fretted about that. What other people thought, right? I was so embarrassed. I cleaned it all up. I scrubbed, but I thought my kitchen was clean. I knew it was, right? It was busy, but I thought it was clean, and it wasn't even close. And I had become the contributor to my own problem 100%. So paying a little bit of attention, right? And not do a lot of that blame shuffling, right? Oh, it can't be me. Silly me, silly me. Uh, but yeah, you are right. I think Andrew's saying, I think a couple of huge fears people have are the fear of failure and the fear of being embarrassed. I don't fear failure. Uh, Probably in my attachment to acceptance is because I accepted my entire life that I was a failure. So if I get a ching in my belt, right, when it comes to failure, right, I'm going to take that with a little bit of pride, right? Because I can stand up to that a little bit. Right? I guess I earned that badge not to be so afraid of failure. And right, even with my brand, the way I pivoted and the way things change here, and when I come in and I fly by the seat of my pants and I just try and let go, and right, and then just accept the life is going to manifest the way that it's supposed to manifest, and just trust in that, right? But at the same time, there's that other part of me going, "Oh, Cindy, oh, you made such a fool of yourself. Why did you say that?" Or, "Oh, Cindy, why did you tell him that you were all mixed up with the wires? How you confused yourself with this word acceptance today?" Right? That self talk, right? But that's okay. I have to recognize my failures, and my failures actually help me to move forward, because lots of people who have the fear of failure, I'm not saying I don't have the fear of failing, but I'm just going to fail anyway, because I know once I fail, I fail. I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. Sometimes the fear of failing is 100 times worse. Oh, 100% is 100 times worse than the actual fail. And that's the truth. That's the truth, right? We could spend a lot of time. We can spend our entire lives fearing death, right? As a small child, start fearing death, start thinking about death, start compulsing about death, start preparing for death, right? Putting ourselves in that state of acceptance to say, oh my goodness, we're not even worth living, right? Right? And we can spend our whole lives in that fear. "100%, Kathy. It's always worse than what actually happens, right? You know, when I get myself in those situations and I can see that not confrontation, but having to deal with it when it's coming at me, and in a moment we're going to have to deal with it. How I deal with it is I just sit constantly in a big spew, right? Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. And just like you said, Kathy, the fear is always worse than what actually happens. And you know, this is something I've only been doing recently, only in the past couple of years, and just slightly touching on it, because I don't always think of it in the moment. I use most of the times I'm going, oh no, oh no, oh no. Instead of going, oh, everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna be okay. All right. And everything is always okay. I used to say to myself, tomorrow's happening anyway. You're still going to be here. You're still going to be here tomorrow, right? Why are you beating yourself up like that, right? Doesn't mean to go to the fridge and grab the ice cream and sit yourself down and, right? But maybe you could take maybe you could take a walk. Maybe it's your work. I do that quite often, is I'll get busy in my work in order to take off whatever is streaming around in my head, right? I lost my phone this week. I tried really hard not to give it any thought. Knowing you, right? You lost your phone. You need to make calls. You need to check your bank accounts. You need to see how much money you've spent, how much money you still have, right? I needed my phone, but I also knew I wasn't going to be able to get my new phone until today. Just in case you're just popping in now, I got the new Pixel. I got the new Pixel. I'm so excited. Right? Something good come out of something, right? That kind of wasn't so good. But now I've got a new phone. Well, you have to get a case. I'm going to have it. I'm going to have it encased so well, like Fort Knox it's going to be. And if I could drop it off a roof of a building, it's not going to break, right? And let's hope that I've learned my lesson with that. Okay. That's why they say we all die 1,000 deaths. Do they say that we all die 1,000 deaths? I've never heard that saying before. Kathy, if it ever, because I will Google that and get some more information. There we go. Wrote it down so I don't forget. But I'll write that down. We envision our deaths so often. I must be a unique. we're all uniques. And in truth, we're all uniques. Oh my goodness. I do not give my right. I don't live in those realms. I don't think that way. I don't think about death. Do I think about life? Yes, I think about life all the time. Every day I'm reminded how important life is, but maybe it's in my beliefs, right? Maybe it's in that idea that I've wasted so much of my life asleep that I have this span of time now that I can, right? That maybe it's in that gratefulness that I woke up when I did, that, that I get to carry on. I think that's what it is, right? I couldn't imagine being where I am right now in my life and not have some of those beliefs, some of those understandings that I have about movement and about creating the best human being we possibly can, right? I had lots of adventures, lots and lots of amazing relationships, right? Along with the crappy ones, along with the crappy experiences too. But that's what life is. Life is what happens to us while we're making other plans, right? But that's the thing, making other plans and not right. Life is not what happens to us while we're waiting to die. This is I don't mean to laugh, but I don't give death any thought. I 100% recognize, right, that it's going to happen. And I recognize I am 62 years old. It could happen at any time. But this way I feel, right? Because of my affirmations, because I'm grateful for my good health, that I have good health. I believe, right? I believe I have good health because of these affirmations that I make. I don't even take so much as aspirin for a head. I've never even had a headache in my entire life. I've never even had a headache, right? I get Charlie horses and I wear glasses and I gain weight. But I think to the extent of my physical well-being, that's that's it, right? I am in good health and I'm grateful for that. And because I'm in good health, I think possibly that's why I don't think of the end. I don't think about dying. I don't fear it. I don't even give it any thought. But there are people who don't have a choice. My dad did not have a choice, right? By the time he was 20, he had congenital heart disease and he got the death sentence. His doctor told him he did not have long to live. And my dad woke up every single morning for the next 25, 30 years with that knowledge that it could be his last day, right? So if I look at it through the perspective of my dad thought about death every single day of his life. Every day he woke up and knew possibly it could be his last day. Grateful that I don't think that way, right? That I know how my dad struggled with that because we struggled with that, right? I could have lost my father anytime. And that conversation was had in the household every single day, right? My mother said it to me. I promise, my mother said that to me every day. Don't say anything to your dad. You'll give him a heart attack. You'll kill him. It just I just remember these ridiculous, and I believed it all. I accepted that all. Everything she said because she was my mother. And I was taught to honor thy mother and thy father, right? And outwardly, right? I honored that. Inwardly, I didn't, because inwardly I was a spectator, right? I was a spectator. Why? Something is too close. My mother was too close to me, right? So I put myself in a spectator state in order to be safe while practicing the hypervigilance, right? Having the anxiousness because you don't know what's going on in somebody's brain. I had no idea when she was going to snap, right? That stress, the guilt and shame, even before I knew something was coming, but what it was, I didn't know. But that guilt and shame would come right away. And go, whatever it was, it must have been absolutely terrible. Stumble over myself and get accidental on that. But when I say get accidental, where I get clumsy and right, stumble over myself in that fear and in that anticipation as to what was coming, right? I lost it there. I was going to say something about the accidental, right? I was going to say something about the accidental and I just lost it. But it'll come back to me if it's meant to. Okay, you guys. See, the fear is always worse than what actually happens. That's why they say we all die for 1,000 deaths. Nice, nice, nice. Yes, because we envision our own deaths so often. My way is a better way. Hmm. I wonder if it's something that could be entrained, Kathy, right? Or if it's something that is just right, because I just don't give it any thought. But maybe that's something I need to do, is to give it some thought, because maybe there's a lesson for other people. I had a friend, she was very, very close. In fact, she was my maid of honor when I got married, and she had this kind of stress where she thought about death constant, her own, her husband's, her children's. It was constant. It was so bad. She was seeing somebody and she was taking some medication. Seems to me she got better over the years on that, and I don't think she's in that state anymore, but she's not in my life anymore, so I haven't had those kinds of conversation, right? If I think I can control it, I will try to control it. But if I know it's spilt milk, I'll just let it. I'll just let it slide. But there is some food for thought there, right? Because that's a terrible thing. These compulsions, these fear based compulsions, they're absolutely terrible. But sometimes I worry that because they're tied to our childhood experiences, that maybe they might not be something that could be. That's not true, because I practice mindset, right? And because even though it takes all kinds to make the world, I didn't understand what kind I was. And because I have no denomination, right? Mindset just fits so well for me. And I was able to get a lot of work. It got me to forgiveness. It got me to forgiveness. And once I got forgiveness in, right, I was able to get that snowball going a little bit, right? That I was able to help myself a little bit. But to actually, hmm, curious. I agree, Kathy. We can learn. This is Andrew. I agree, Kathy. We can learn stress worry management. I have a friend whose imagination and fear get out of control. This could be a rare case when medication might genuinely help. I believe in innovation. I truly do believe in innovation. I believe in the medical system. I believe in science, right? And I think it's the partnership of the biological, the 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 social part of it, bio, social, and psycho, which is our minds, and it's in the combination of those three, right? All parts of us, right? Those are all parts of us, but those are three different parts of us that we treat like it's one, like we treat like it's just one, but in all actuality it's three, right? A rare case when medication might genuinely help. I do believe in the innovation, but I'm not quite sure, because I've seen the entrapment of medication, how people get entwined in the system and they become customers rather than clients, right? It's a sad thing. I've seen people very, very close to me get entrapped in that, right? And I would hate for anybody to lose their senses because on medication, right? I understand pain has to be relieved because there's only so much that we can take in. But I also know that if we take those painkillers and we cover up pain, that pain is there to tell us that there's a problem, right? And whether that pain is an emotional pain, a mental pain, or a physical pain, I still think it's the body trying to communicate with us. I do. It might sound silly, but that's the way I believe. So I try to keep my body clear of those kind of medications, right? Try and keep myself out of the system, right? I'll see a doctor if I need to see a doctor, but I have to feel, and I have to know that I am a client, that I'm a patient, and I'm not a customer, right? I'm not a customer for your friends at the pharmacy, right? I'm not a visit once a month or once every couple of weeks so that you can, right, get the insurance, right? Keep making money. I just don't want to get into that. I've seen it happen and it's obvious. It's so obvious and people are being so damaged by that. OCD, obsessive obsessive compulsive, yeah. But to me that could also be, could be childhood trauma, like, some complex trauma, some things that he could just maybe work through, maybe without the medication, but maybe with some mindset, right? And I'm not preaching anything to that, but mindset doesn't have any denominations to it, and that's what I love about it, right? It's not a prescription. It's based on reality. It's based on actual science-based lessons. And yeah, mindset is something that's tied to entrepreneurship and marketing and stuff, but it had to start somewhere, right? Just because somebody was a marketer when they, right? Well, who's to say they were marketer? Were they a marketer? I think they worked with entrepreneurs, right? They were studying entrepreneurs when mindset was being practiced. Yes, 100%. Napoleon, Napoleon Hill, right? Andrew Carnegie, going way, way back to the early 1900s. Mindset is fairly new, but then again it's not, because you look at stoicism, right? Stoicism, that goes back thousands of years. The Romans, right? It's the Greeks. No, it's the Romans. Could be wrong, but like I said, I'm no expert on any religious or spiritual ideas, right? But I try to get familiar with some aspects for the very least, so that if I have a conversation with somebody who practices and has faith in in those ideas that we have a commonality, that we have something to open up and understand and respect in each other's understandings, right? In our makeup, in our traditions, and in our cultures. An evergreen tree, Andrew. An evergreen tree was near my friend's house. Feared it falling on the house, though, would have done nothing but scrape the gutter. My friends feared homelessness because of that. Oh, so a traumatic experience. Right. And it's funny that you say that, Andrew, because when we talk about fears, I would have to say if there was anything for me to fear, it would be because I got so close to homelessness myself, right? That having a roof over my head is very important, right? It is a priority in my life. Like even today when I went to pick up my phone, I went, oh my goodness, right? My house bills just went up $60 a month, right? Yeah, it just went up $60 a month. Well worth it though, right? Well worth it. Okay. Yeah, for me, yes, I do carry a little bit of that fear of becoming homeless, right? When it comes to fears, for me, I think that fear would be not to make it a little bit further than my father did. That's what pushes me, right? That snowball started, but I didn't start that snowball, right? My grandmother and my father started that snowball, and it is uh, a priority for me to at the very least get a little bit further in my movement, in our epigenetically, right? In my family, that some of these problems that we have had going back in that entrapment of other people's movement, right? And not our very own movement. Each one of my family members are so different. The ones that woke up and the ones that are still unconscious to any of these ideas, right? So different. They could actually be from different countries, different religious denominations, different political. We are so different. And I'm surprised that me and my sisters are still so close because we are so different. But because, like, remember what I said in being able to understand, to have experiences, have it, conversations. It makes it so that we can find commonalities in people, right? In groups and organizations and networks, that we can find those commonalities and make friends, build relationships, right? Be around other people when it's hard to get to know people, because again, just like Andrew says, that we fear so much the judgment of others. Now, he didn't use judgment. He said the fear of um rejection. Was it fear of rejection? Judgment. The fear of judgment of others, right? But that's the thing. That judgment is only meant and directed at you to keep you in place, to keep you at bay, to keep you from not moving. That's only somebody else's insecurity, right? Especially if they're going to, right, judge you in that way. Judgment is something, again, that is always, right? Being an obese child, teenager, young adult, mature adult, it was something that I saw in people's faces. It was something that I heard come out of people's mouths, right? The cruelties, the unkindnesses, the disrespect, the degradation, the shame, the guilt, all of it, right? I had to, right? I turned the other cheek for the most part of it. That's the way I was programmed. There were times you snap, right? And somebody gets it for the past 20 people who called you fatso or said something mean about you, right? It does happen. Not as happen. It doesn't happen as often anymore, right? But it did. It did. But I would take it for as long as I could. I turned the other cheek for as long as I could. But when I knew, and it got to the point that I knew that if I didn't do something, it was just going to continue on, or they were just going to go off and do it to somebody else, right? And then there would be a breaking point for me. In the Bible, there's a passage that says, fear has torment. Fear has torment. Yeah, I fear not having a roof over my head. I fear that, right, that I might not get a little bit further than my father did, which means, it's in that lack mindset, right, that we're going to really have to put some work into 100%. When I say lack, it's just not the lack of money, but just that lack that we feel in ourselves. Maybe there's a lesson in that when it comes to acceptance, right? And I think there probably is 100%, right? Yeah, I knew that when I was a teenager that it was constant fear. There was nothing but fear from the time I got up in the morning till the time I went to bed, and even when I went to bed, there was fear because you never know, right? When the shoe was going to drop, and the shoe always dropped in the most inopportune, the most unexpected moments, but that's when it hits home, right? That's the intent, right? I'm less likely now to move by the judgment of others. I still move with the encouragement of others. I do take note when people say kind things or they make notes on things, that sometimes I will linger on those topics because I got that little bit of agreement, or I got that little bit of encouragement. I got that little bit of what is it? Backup, a little bit of a cheerlead outside of me doing it for myself. So once I've got that confirmation, right, I can become a little bit braver that way, right? But that's all in showing up, right? That's all in the practicing in our daily lives. And I'm grateful that I have these live shows, that I can have these topics and I can delve into them and pick them apart and find things that work for me, and then find things also that might work for others. Because I tell you, I was on it today, and I was on one thing, and then I was on to another, and then I was attaching it to this, and I went, oh my goodness, I'm doing that. And it was just all this acceptance. It was so attached. That's what I have to say. It was like I'm trying to think of a good way to explain. Okay, what just came to my mind, like chords, like things that are, it just attached. It's just so much attached, right? That sometimes, and lately lots, I've been doing these. They say to vision cutting it, right? And so I have this Leonardo da Vinci image in my mind. You know that guy? and there's a picture image of him, and he's standing inside of a circle, and his arms are outstretched, and he's in a big circle. And I imagine myself, and I'm holding on to the ends of this big circle. I'm holding on to it, like I'm just holding on to this big circle, and it's going this way. But also, there's another circle, and it's going this way. It's just a bar of steel. It's actually blades, is what it is. And so I have this circle going around me, and then I have this circle going around me. And I do this when I'm uncomfortable, when I feel the stress, when I feel those attachments, like, right? Sometimes those attachments get really, really heavy. And I know I'm just mowing grass and I'm just picking up stuff as I go along. But if I can visually see myself cutting all those attachments, right? And with a blade going this way around me and a blade going this way around me, right? I'm getting everything. And then after that, right, I give thought to the few people, right, that I'm kind of like Kathy, and I'll throw Kathy a thought, and I'll throw Andrew a thought. I'll throw my sisters a thought, maybe somebody at work or a couple of people in my life, right, that I've kind of I wake up and I smile on these people, right? That physically in my life, I'm not shining on anybody. Um, but I am a shiner, and I am meant to shine, and I understand that anything that I shine on, right? I believe this. Anything I shine on thrives. That's my gift, right? So when we had these lessons that I'm supposed to be taking care of myself, right? This is what I'm thinking. Oh my goodness, I got to shine on myself. I have to shine on myself. I have to be able to move forward and trust that, that everything is going to be okay. That I'm still going to be here tomorrow, right? And not worry that I'm going to be judged by somebody else, because these topics that I cover, they can be judged out the yin yang and continuously and compulsively, right? Because we compulse about so many things. I'm looking at this word compulse. I have compulse, but my compulsives are in my what do you call that, calming the system down, the pink ice donuts, right, the 10 cups of coffee every single day, right, the evening walks. Not going outside today. We're in the midst of a snowstorm. The next couple of weeks are going to be really, really bad. I don't know how bad, but they're saying the next couple of weeks here they're going to be pretty bad, pretty cold. But you guys, it's already January 10th. It should be like minus 40 Celsius. It's like spring. Okay, maybe March. But still, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about it, right? Bible, there's a passage that says, fear has torment. Fear has torment. Fear has torment. I bet you it does, Andrew. I bet you fear has terrible, terrible torment. I remember how terrified I was, you know, and it's really amazing. It's really quite wonderful. I'm gonna acknowledge that right now, how amazing and wonderful that I have to look at fear right this moment, and I have to go back as far as, well, how long has it been at this job? Am I in my fourth year now in this job that I have in this little thrift store? And I have to go back that far to truly feel the fear. Yes, I would have to say go back just that far, when it started to lessen, started to alleviate a little bit in me. No matter what, I do believe that I think I will be. Look, you can't do that. You see? No matter what. You think, possibly, maybe. We need to be more positive, to be more convincing to ourselves in that. That was about the meekest, the meekest little bit of conviction that I ever put out there. Possibly, maybe, kinda, I don't know. We're going to send some good cheer out there. False alarm. It's going to get to its destination, and they're going to say sorry. All of a sudden, he's feeling so much better, and fire station will go back to the station, perfectly content not to have to deal with a catastrophe. Right? You're a rare bird, Cindy. Am I a rare bird? I think we're all. I think we're all rare birds. You know, even when I wasn't woken up to any of these ideas, I always considered myself a unique, but that uniqueness is the unique life that I lived and all the lessons and all the characters that have come into my life. And it's all those ingredients like my hypervigilance and my self sabotage, right? My anxiousness, my stress, my fear, my guilt, my shame. It's all those ingredients, right? All those ingredients that get put in. But can you imagine once we get all those parts of us coming together and we get the properly categorized and not giving credit of something that belongs to this aspect of ourselves and say, hey, Cindy, you're amazing. You're the best. When I'm nothing except following, right? A lesson or, right? Feeling out an emotion and siphoning through the evidence and feeling what's true for me. And when I wake up to the true story, right? I'm going to be curious to see how much of this I truly got right. Because if I do have right what I truly believe to be true, that we are here to create the best human being we possibly can, we've been doing and going about it, I think, the wrong way, in a way that causes us to have a lot of problems. And, I was just looking for something here, but maybe I could just talk a little bit about this, about a dream I had. And I'm not a dreamer, you guys. If you guys hang out with me for any length of time, I'm a solid sleeper, right? Wake one moment, awake the next, and it's done, right? That's the way I sleep. Unless my bladder's having a problem, I have to get up in the middle of the night. I'm usually a pretty solid sleeper. And I understand that everybody dreams because they've done sleep apnea tests, and they can tell everybody dreams because the fluttering under the eyes is the dreaming, and everybody does that. So I recognize that I do dream, but I also recognize that I don't remember anymore. It's a totally blank. I wake up refreshed with a solid 7-8 hours sleep every single day for the most part, right? But I lost my train of thought there. You guys, I really have been losing my train of thought quite a bit this week. It has been a busy week, but that shouldn't be an excuse. And right now, showing up live every single day, it's a part of my life now. This is just a part of my life. So it's no extra, but it is, I think, in the lessons, it's in the crossing up the wires, it's in the working up the problem, it's in getting a true perspective for myself, feeling the truth out for myself. And when it's contradicted and I really have to delve in deep to see what's true for me, And then to find out what's true for me is so different than what's true for everybody else, right? Right? They talk about it all the time that humans just a suit, right? It's just something to use and abuse, and it's just a tool. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that is so far from the truth, right? If you had to wear that suit, if you had to wear this suit, would you wear it? Would you think it was the best suit in the whole world? No, you wouldn't, because it's just not ready yet. Right? It's just not ready, and we're so stuck in our beliefs as if they're so true that it's just going to take. So that's why evolution, right? I'm so tied to the evolution, because what's true today, right, wasn't true, and we believed it to be true 100 years ago. But innovation, right, and evidence being dug up, right, being presented, where you don't even have an argument, not even a foot to stand on, that you have to choke on something that you really believe to the core. You believe that to the core, right? And now you have to believe in something totally different. I would believe in that. If I had to, I would believe in that, no matter how difficult, how strange, right? Because if it resonates with me, it resonates with me. A truth is a truth. Evidence is evidence, and you just don't argue with that. And I would have to choke on that mistake and on that failure. But does that make me a failure? Does it make me a liar? No, it just makes me human. I made a mistake. I made a boo boo. I believed something that wasn't true. I believed somebody who told me that that's how it was. That's who I was, right? And that's who they were. And this is who's in charge, whatever it is, right? And then I would just have to accept it and do a little bit of course correcting. That's what all of this is all about. And I just share it, and you guys pick up what you pick up. And right, oh my goodness, I'm just listening in on some amazing, amazing conversations with some really amazing people. But I made a list of some of these people that I follow in their content, right? And I'm going, oh my goodness, when we talk about differences in people, I'm just trying to look where I put that list. When we talk about the differences in people, and I think where I pick up my lessons from, who I pick up my lessons from, right? And even though they are different religious ideas or different denominations, different political ideas, right? That I actually resonate with them, right? That I understand that it takes all kinds to make the world. And because I understand that, I get to learn the most amazing things from the amazing, what did you call that, Kathy? Rare birds. So many rare birds out there, right? So many rare birds. And I get to pick and choose myself who I want to learn from. Here it is, a list. Let me read you some of these people that I wrote down, okay? And let's see. Just you could shout out if you know any of these people, if you've heard of them, if you appreciate them, or if you disagree in any of their lessons. And they're all kinds, all different religious ideas. You might find it unique. These are some of my favorites. Wayne Dyer. He's a thought leadership. He's spirituality. Wayne Dyer, yeah, and he had his own platform. He recently passed away too, and he's still a mentor. Jerry Wise, he's I think a working psychologist, very much a realist. He's very grounded. Lori Ladd. when I first started listening to her content, it really rubbed me the wrong way because I didn't have a lot of experiences in some of the conversations that she has. But because I move in a way that I appreciate people because of this list that I have, um, I appreciate people's lessons that are individuals, right? That these people are very independent and they're very very deep into their own lessons and the courage that it comes to come to the table with your own ideas. And when Andrew was talking about judgment there, right? She's one of a few that, I'm aware, lots of people are aware of these networks and she's also spirituality, right? And I really appreciate the lessons and her bravery and the courage and some of her own ideas and her vulnerability because in her struggles she shares her struggles. I really like Ladd. Well, here's a unique one. I wrote this gentleman's name, Ren. I've mentioned him before. He leads by example. I don't know if he knows he's a teacher, but he is a teacher and he's a musician. His name's Ren. He's a singer and he just won the number one top musician in Great Britain. I think he did this year. Teal Swan. Uh, she's a very smart lady, um, and she's really good at putting lessons together. Her lessons are really, really hard. She's deep into tough love, 100%. But she's not a spirituality, but I think she's more somebody who believes like that the world is being directed by space, by aliens, by people who are are here to help humans, right? Uh, Tom Conti, he's an intellectual, really, really interesting, very set in his ways, in the way he thinks. He's got lots of walls. He's right? He's very set in his ideas, but he's a deep thinker, and I suspect that there's a pretty good high percentage of correctness in what he puts out to the world, 100%. Sam Vatkin is one of my main mentors. He's a narcissist. He has been diagnosed with narcissism, but he's also a psychologist and he's moving forward. He's conscious and I think he's helping both narcissists and victims of narcissism to better understand the situation that they are in. And he posts every single day. He loves what he's doing. He's very good at what he's doing, and his information rings true so much for me. So he's one of my main guys. Heart to Heart. Now there's a good one. She's a card reader. I don't know what she looks like because she doesn't show her face when she makes her posts, but I can tell just through the lessons and the conversations that she gets a good percentage of what she does. She gets it right. It takes all kinds to make the world, right? 100%. Uh Dr. Gabor Mate, right? Now there is another expert. He is an expert in emotions. He works in post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and he works in addictions, right? In those things that we use and do in calming our systems down. Evan Carmichael. Well, you guys know Evan Carmichael. He set me on this path. he set me onto this movement with mindset because, again, I'm non-denominational. I could have not had any grounding in any spiritual ideas or any religious ideas or any intellectual ideas, but because I was able to ground in mindset and be able to start in the lessons and then be able to have examples, because on his channel it's like an hors d'oeuvre platter where you get all kinds of thought leadership, and you get to be able to pick and choose for yourself the lessons, and you get to feel out who you resonate with, right? Muji. Oh, I know controversy comes around all of us, but when you're up there, people are always willing to take you down. And again, we are not perfect. We're constantly failing. And it's bad enough that we point out with guilt and shame our own bad moods, our own failings, our own bad deeds. Again, we're not perfect, but nothing's worse than having somebody else point that out to you. And again, we'll go back to what Andrew was talking about, that that judgment, right? That people do. Cryon gets it right. If I was going to be moving towards anything, if the law says I have to have a religion, I have to have true faith in this God, right? If I didn't have a choice, right, I would have to say I might move with Cryon, because I feel in my heart that he gets a lot of it right. He gets a lot of it right. Lex Fridman. I'm only laughing because he's such a cutie pie. But he's so smart and he has such a great show. And I got to meet this Tom Conti actually on one of Lex Fridman's podcasts. I really enjoy watching Lex's podcast, and I like his genuineness, right? I like that he works at being true to himself and true to his own beliefs, right? That that his topics that he talks about, he covers everything, and he covers these topics. This is what I love most about him. These topics that, right, that kind of slow me up, right? I'm moving towards it, right? I'm dipping my toes in it, but he's up to here. He's right. And again, that's that admiration and that acknowledgement of, right, somebody stretching out a little bit beyond themselves, and not being afraid, again, like Andrew said, of that judgment that comes back to them, right? Victor Otto. Now he's spirituality. He's somebody I know that if I met him, I would resonate. I would resonate immediately. I feel such a resonance in what he puts out there, in that genuineness. He's a business, he's an entrepreneur, right? He's making his beliefs work for him in building his own business. But the things I like about him most have got nothing to do with his business. I love the husband that he is to his wife. I love the father that he is to his children, even though he worries quite a bit that he isn't. But this is sometimes these past lives, these in epigenetically, sometimes these things cling to us. But, in my observation, he's an amazing husband and an amazing father, and he's an amazing teacher. And he's an amazing teacher through the example that he sets off for me, right? He's a good example for me. And then, yeah, and then that's a few that I wrote down. But there are so many, but you can see that these guys become part of my my subscriptions, people that I do take lessons in, and do they get it right 100% the time? No. No, not even close. But there are lessons that move me forward every single time that I could watch one of their videos, and they will hit something. They will hit a trigger and give me something to think about, right? Sometimes it's just a matter of giving me the topic. And right, you don't even have to give a lesson. Just give me what the topic is and I'll run with that 100%, right? Well, we were kind of all over the board tonight with this word, right? And this word acceptance. And I think this is a good way to end it is with Andrew's comment about, our greatest fears is in that uh, rejection, and in that expectation, and in that projection, and in that judgment that others, right, will have if we show up to the table with what we have at hand, and whether it's a truth or untruth, right? If we were going to talk about fear, right, like I said, I come in and I come off the floor. There's always, right, half the stuff that comes, I'm in and out. That's what I do. But then there's a fear in me because, right, I expect that when I step aside, that there will be something for me when I come back into the live to watch it again. I expect today when I come into my life that there will be something there for me as a lesson, right? And I have to watch it. I have to absorb it. And sometimes I go, oh, Cindy, you didn't have to say that. Or, oh, what was that all about, right? But more often than not, I am okay with whatever the lesson was, whatever it is that conversation was, however I trailed off today, right? There would have been a reason for that. So I just accept it for what it is. And right, somebody might come in and say, oh, Cindy, you're so full of it, right? Cindy, you have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, that's perfectly fine, right? But maybe I'll come back tomorrow and I'll come at it in a different perspective, in a different way. And maybe if I'm lucky, you'll come back too and you'll give me another shot. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. And we'll see each other tomorrow. Bye bye.